There's a Japanese man, and he took like a bottle of this, and he was like shaking it on him, and that reminds me of a thing that someone was trying to clean the counters, so they just threw a bucket of water on the counters. So there's actually another one. It was in this town that I'm in Grafton. There was a park. The park's still there, but they took down the adult exercise outdoor playground. It was like a circuit where it was all around the walk path. You could stop at different stations. They had little fun workout exercise areas with blocks and things you jump off of, poles. They kept up the monkey bars, so there's like a few monkey bar stations. So I mean, there's that, but they took down the main amount, and so this was dealing with the virus, because the virus is physical. They're guessing how you deal with that, and then when they're taking down like playgrounds for adults, which sounds ridiculous, but it actually is more ridiculous to see me going around treating a public property as a playground, because to me it is when there isn't one for adults. But it goes so well with addressing the problem with the virus, how you don't get enough vitamins and vitamin D, and if you're obese and if you have all these health concerning issues, you're more likely to get hurt by the virus. Where I think it's no different than if you're just standing next to like a fiber optic cable, and you're holding in a fiber optic cable, that there's like a lot more worse things that are probably radiating through your body, and compared to like not having a jungle gym for adults, that's twice as bad to do what I just did. And this looks like a fun game. This could be like where you add up your scores in bowling. But if you had like a public, like adult playground, you could use something like this to add up the statistics of whatever circuit you were finished in. And I guess if you like dogs, you could bring dogs and get them involved in because it would be outdoors. I know that they have a lot of dog shows where they bring like dogs on slides and they train them to do fun things. Essentially the animals are allowed to do circuits like in dog shows and stuff, so they can go at the park and do that as well, because a lot of people just bring the dogs with them because they like them that much. But in dealing with the great combatant of the virus, the public parks go so well with if you can have an adult like playground, because then it can address more specifically the target areas needed to combat the virus, because the virus is a specific, meaning it goes and does certain things that are like Trojan horse plugged into it, the Trojan horse alphabet, if you may. It is designed with the corona to have a specific target area when it enters your body. So having a specific areas and instructions for each circuit in the adult playground is just a great way to combat. And if you involve animals, you can add them in and show how different they are, and if you're doing circuits with them, how that might be more comprehensible to a complex array of combating viral outbreak. So there's that element. There's like probably 6 elements I just listed, but more importantly, for like the Salem witch trials, that was all mental and a bit physical, because if someone looked really like an outcast, probably because like they had like bad physical health, that would be part of the reason why they look so eerie. But then I'd say the Salem witch trials were more mental on how that actually got escalated. Man, that's a sweet freaking truck, dude. But then with the Indians giving the blankets, the cowboys giving the blankets to the Indians that were sick, that was strictly physical, because it's very much having to do with like how the virus is physical, because the virus is just a different influenza, but it's just jacked up on like a Trojan horse alphabet. where it does stuff more horrific, like attack the heart. But I was curious to know what was the sickness that the Indians got from the blanket trick. That's where I'm gonna have to cover it. And no, I'm not a violent revolutionary, but I do like athletics, and I think that if people had gyms for adults out in the open, which actually there's like a public park in Port Washington, and there's a little like adult playground where you can go on, but it's kind of small, and I'd like one to be in every town. And it's a fun fact that I was born in New Jersey, in Princeton, New Jersey. This was where Albert Einstein chose to get buried, and in the hospital, I guess, in that vicinity of the graveyard, well, I came about being born in the same town. So how close is New Jersey to Massachusetts? Well, they're pretty darn close, and Salem wasn't that far away. It was in my backyard, so to speak. And I've never been there, but I understand that's a hot spot. The third hot spot in American soil is Louisiana, with all the voodoo. But I don't want to cover that before I cover the cowboy sickly blankets and the Salem witch trials, because that could get a little bit more sticky in the line of conspiracy theory. So there's two moments in history where I find really interesting that I want to touch upon in order to understand scrutiny better. The one I talked about yesterday was the Salem witch trials. The one I talked about a few days before were the cowboys getting sick, the Indians, by giving them sickly blankets. And I want to take both of these instances to know that these happened on American soil. And I want to take both of these instances to try and cover what more is happening during a lockdown. Numbers are being skewed, and lives are being ripped apart, and you're being told you can't go on the internet to say if you can or can't talk about any of that. So I know in the past pretense, those two events that did happen are open for being able to speak on. And I'm related to some of them because I grew up in New England and I'm part Indian.